Hey everyone, so in today's lesson we are going to talk about the paper 2 tips and structures when it comes to calculation questions. So you're going to have certain calculation questions, as you can see. First part would ask you to do some numerics, and the next part is going to ask you in most cases a related theory that has been asked above when it comes to a calculation question, or it can be unrelated to the part above as well, but that would be very less likely. Alright, so for the 3-mark question, always remember there's a certain structure that I always tell my students. For calculation questions, write the formula, show your working, and then mention the answer in the correct units. And if you're a student who does not have time to practice calculation questions, or you feel as if you're struggling in calculation questions, and if you were to invest time in calculations right now, you may be missing time that you can invest on to course revision or past paper practice. In this case, what I advise is that you should at least make an effort to learn formulas, so that if you learn all the relevant formulae, you'll be able to write at least the formula in the exam and get 1 marks out of 3. Alright, so the first part asks you, refer to figure 1.1, another information, calculate the margin of safety in February. So you need to know what's the formula for margin of safety. So margin of safety is basically your actual sales minus your break-even sales. And if you can see in this case, the actual sales have been given to you, which are 1400 bags. Alright, so actual sales lie here. And if you see, this is a break-even chart. The chart is not labeled, so you need to know the concept and the theory. This dotted line is a straight line, which means that the cost that you're incurring here, even if you're producing nothing or even if you're producing 1400, the cost remains same, which is basically your fixed cost. This is your total revenue and this is your total cost. Why is this your total cost? Because even if you produce nothing, your total cost is not zero. Because in this case, if you've read the case, you'll be required to pay rent. So even if you're producing nothing, your rent will not be zero. It would be, a certain amount. So your total cost is basically fixed cost equals variable cost. So even when you produce nothing, you have zero variable cost, but you are required to pay certain amount of fixed cost. So at zero output, your total cost will be equal to the amount of fixed cost, which means total cost will always start from here. Always start from the line of the fixed cost. Alright, so this is your total cost. Break even means where total revenue equals your total cost. At this graph, we can clearly see the point of intersection. So TR equals to TC over here, which means your break even is 1000. So actual sales 1400 minus 1000 break even sales, the margin of safety is 400 units. Now how you're going to present it in your answer, you can pause this video and read these particular comments, so you'll be able to better understand how would marking be divided. Alright, so let's move on. For the next part, explain one way Louis could use the break-even analysis. For the next part, there is something known as own figure rule. Now what do we mean by own figure rule, or what does it mean by own figure rule? This means that even if your answer to part B, part 1 is wrong, and you are going to use it in the next part, but the analysis that you're doing is pretty right, so you won't be penalized here. You'll be getting full marks if the analysis is right, which means, for example, let's say the break-even in this case, as you can clearly see, is 1000 units, right? But you made a mistake and you somehow thought break-even is 1500 units. Now this would lead to an incorrect calculation of margin of safety, because it's one determinant in the formula. So you won't get marks in the calculation part. But if you were to use it in the next part, in your analysis part, and you write the right analysis, let's say for example 1500 units, which means till 1499 you will be incurring a loss, and till 1501 you will be entering the profit making phase. Therefore, if a business knows the break even is 1500, the business will make sure to decide on production quantities or resource allocation in the right manner to make sure that as soon as possible introduce and produce 1500 units, so that you are able to enter profit making, which will be very important since this is a partnership business, and more profits would mean that partners can divide more profits among themselves and can also reinvest in the future, which will be very important considering that they have unlimited liability. So bank loans may possess a huge risk. So what I've done is I've given a benefit onto the case context. That is exactly what you need to do in the next part. So the next part asks you explain one way Louis could use the break-even analysis. Make points with pencil so that you're able to apply. So I've made a certain number of points, set right prices, helps in marketing mix decisions, and then I need to read the case and apply this theory onto the case. Another insight that I can also provide you with. So this business basically keeps supervisors to manage production employees, but supervisors have found to be leaving, or production employees have found to be leaving, and the new supervisor that has joined has been recommending PRP. But the point to note is that the supervisor are being paid a salary, and as we all know that salary is a fixed cost. So if you hire more supervisors, this will actually increase your salary expense, and if your salary expense is increased, your fixed cost will increase, and your break-even formula is fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost. So if your fixed cost increase, this is likely to increase your break even. So your break even may actually reach from 1000 units to, let's say for example, 1300 units. Now why is this information useful to ZB? Think this business makes luxury handbags. This business is a partnership. There's a high risk in this business. Even though it's a partnership, it has grown in recent years. Why do you need break even? Why would an increase in break even be important for this business? How would it affect the decision making? Think. So first you identify a benefit, then you give a relevant example in the context of the case, and then you mention an impact on the relevant example that you've given. Sir, do I write the definitions? No. Not in B part 2, no definition. Also, another tip, very strong. If there's a 3-mark question of calculation and you feel as if you know how to do it, but you're not getting the answer right, and you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying, please make sure that you keep the time limit in mind. So if it's a 3-mark question, even if you, let's say for example, get it right, but you spend 10 minutes on it, so that's not advised, because you'll be losing time that you can invest on essay based responses, which will inevitably take more time. All right, so this is the entire content that I've showcased in this video. If you want, you can take a screenshot or copy it. I hope this helps. Let me know your feedback in the comments. It's very precious to me. Thank you so much.